The other top story tonight, apart from the Trump Tower drama, Donald Trump's lawyer is also attacking his former lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, unleashing on Michael Cohen in those interviews, accusing him of being a pathological manipulator, a scoundrel, and a liar.
The man is a pathological manipulator, liar. There are innumerable other recordings of other people having nothing to do with the Trump organization, which will give you an idea what a scoundrel he was. If you tape record your client and you lie to your client about it, you have no character.
And a new claim, evidence tampering.
More likely is he came back home, he erased the portion that he wanted erased, and then he tried to tape record a conversation, it appears, with Don Jr. He might have gotten that too, and then he erased that.
Well, you've spoken to Donald Trump. What's the part that was erased?
I have no idea.
Does Donald Trump remember?
No.
Giuliani says the secret recording, though, could be good for Trump.
We have determined the fact that he tampered with the tape in the sense that he abruptly, mid-conversation, turned it off. And I think they put it out because they wanted the doctored version to obscure whatever else might be on that tape, which will be I'm sure it'll be good for us.
I'm sure it'll be good for us. I'm joined by Liz Plank, a senior producer for Vox News, and former U.S. Attorney Joyce Vance. Thank you both. Joyce, I don't know if you remember the rapper J.O. Felony, but he was very proud of his felonies. And I feel like Giuliani here is basically turning this into Mike O. Felony. If true, he's accusing Cohen of evidence tampering or true crime, right? I mean, this is actually, even though Rudy makes a lot of noise, this, if true, would be a big deal. And if false, the false accusation of a crime is also a big deal.
Rudy's gambling on the fact that he's now appealing to the court of public opinion, not any sort of a court where the rules of criminal procedure are followed. You're right, Ari, if it's true that there are tapes that have been tampered with and offered into evidence, that would be a big deal.
Huge.
But if you've got, say, just a tape recording on your phone, which is all that these tapes that Cohen has appear to be, and you cut it off inadvertently or even on purpose while you're taping on your telephone, that's a very different thing than something that you testify to in court and authenticate and offer as evidence.
Right. I take your nuance, Joyce, very important. You're helping us understand that this is probably hyperbolic and not real tampering. But it would be a big deal for them to just go out and accuse him of tampering.
It absolutely would be, and Rudy Giuliani is really operating on the narrow edge of the ethical rules that courts expect lawyers to follow. It's in many ways surprising to a lot of people that the bar has not yet sanctioned him for some of this conduct.
Right, and as you say, I mean, that is where there are still real rules that apply to anyone who says they're the practicing attorney here for the president or anyone else. Then there's the whole privilege part, which again is important, even though Rudy talks about it in a sort of a loose manner. Take a listen.
We have complained to them that he's violating the attorney-client privilege, publicly and privately.
Why did you waive the attorney-client privilege for the Cohen tapes?
Because I know the whole tape, and I could bring out parts of the tape. For example, if I didn't waive it, I wouldn't be able to tell you that he cuts it off abruptly, which he does. Right after the word check, it ends. Next thing you hear is Don Jr.
Explain.
It's very confusing. Attorney-client privilege is one of those legal doctrines that follows the rule of once you let the cat out of the bag, you can't get it back in. So once Rudy waives attorney-client privilege and talks about the tapes and the conversations, there's really no surviving privilege and nothing left for Cohen to violate by talking about it. Rudy's tossing a lot of word salad today and trying to see what'll stick on the walls. This one will not stick. There's no there.
Liz, this is a part where you don't need to be a lawyer to know that if your argument boils down to how dare you take advantage of the thing I did, privilege is out, then it seems sort of like we're done there.
Right. And I mean, word salad is one word, and I think weaponized gaslighting is another word that I would use to describe what the Trump administration has been doing for a long time, but what has been happening, especially in the last few days with Rudy Giuliani. And I think, Rudy Giuliani saying that Michael Cohen doctored the tapes. If Michael Cohen wasn't smart enough to not use his Trump administration email to coordinate the hush payment to Stormy Daniels, I don't think he's smart enough to know how to doctor an audio
You don't
tape.
imagine him in a basement.
I don't know. I have trouble with that with that image.
Just like making a second SoundCloud backup recording.
I mean, maybe. And yeah, what we're seeing also is that Rudy Giuliani is basically Michael Cohening Michael Cohen. Michael Cohen was Donald Trump's lawyer, but he didn't do a lot of lawyering. What he did was a lot of trying to kill stories, trying to threaten people who had stories on Donald Trump. I mean, the classic examples during the campaign when Ivana Trump's own words had been leaked that she felt violated by Donald Trump. He threatened the Daily Beast reporter who had the story. He then tried to kill the story, and when he couldn't kill the story, he said that raping your wife is not a crime. What we saw Rudy Giuliani do this weekend follows sort of that same playbook. So it's sort of a different situation, or a different yes man, but the same sort of strategy.
Right. And one other contrast is that we know that Trump and Cohen were having a lot of conversations. One difference with Rudy is they literally seem to speak through the television. I mean, because they, and this is something that I think sometimes leads people to underestimate them. There's this idea of, oh, Rudy's just making it up and he's so sloppy. Well, no, I think there's a method to it. The method is if there's no professional or personal pride in the words that you say and the work that you do, then you can do your rough draft on live TV and then redo it as he did a few hours later when he calls into a new interview, because it's all just content. Joyce mentions that if it gets up over the line of the ethical standard, there is a bar that does operate that can do things to Rudy. So with all that in mind, I want to play Michael Avenatti, who made some news on Friday, to consider that a lot of this did start with Cohen and him wrangling over Stormy Daniels and the NDA. Avenatti making news that there are other cases, other women, at least one that he alleges also involve the tabloid company doing favors for Trump, which could be a new and separate legal infraction. Take a look.
I have 3 clients that have hired me as their counsel. Each of them had a relationship with Mr. Trump. Each of them were paid hush money prior to the 2016 election.
Does at least one of them involve AMI?
Yes.
And that would be a previously undisclosed, it's not Karen McDougal, correct?
Correct.
What is the significance that there could be a whole another case as big as the Stormy Daniels one about a woman we don't know about yet?
Yeah, I think you'll need a whole new hour or a second hour for your show, because there's already so much to cover in terms of these stories. And I want to come back to what you were saying before, which is the sort of strategy that Rudy Giuliani uses that is the same strategy that Donald Trump used. He would call into shows, he would say one thing and then say another thing. This is again a sort of weaponized form of gaslighting, but it's also kind of weaponized incompetence, like pretending like they're just they don't really know, they're kind of dumb. They're not dumb. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're doing this on purpose. And it's a cover-up. I mean, they're trying to cover up something, and it's not just Rudy Giuliani who's doing it. We saw Lindsey Graham, this weekend say that Michael Cohen can't really be taken seriously. He's not a credible person, sort of attacking his character. So the Republican Party is complicit in a cover-up, but they don't really know what crimes they're covering up. And that's, I think, what we should also be really paying attention to.
I think you're making a point that overlaps with some of what Joyce was pointing out, which is if a detailed discussion of the facts doesn't favor you, then you turn to the mush.
Right.
And then people say, well, what is this? This isn't even a legal brief. This is applesauce. And you go, I don't know. Is it applesauce? What's applesauce?
Listen to it 3 times.
I got to go.
I don't know.
And so there is that mood, which is a cynical play, but that doesn't mean it won't work. And that's why we're going to keep reporting on the vigilance of it. My thanks to both of you, Joyce Vance and Liz Plank. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.